What's up, everybody? This is Henry Fleischer here from the Cannabis Dispatch, also the CBD Business Networking Group on Facebook, and I have a very special guest today. I brought you Frank Messenger of the International Jewish Cannabis Association. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, awesome. So, Batya, tell us a little bit more about what the organization is about.
Well, the organization it was founded 5 years ago in Florida. The founder is Ben Zion, and he's worked in the wellness and cannabis space for a while. His wife is one of the leading physicians of Florida for cannabis physicians. The whole goal or dream was to bring Jews together in this space, but also to use the space for broader outreach for philanthropy. So we have a tenet of belief called two tenets of belief called Tzedakah and Tikkun Olam, and to bring that into the cannabis atmosphere. That spirit. So Tikkun Olam is to heal the world. Tzedakah is to charity, philanthropy. So that is one of our biggest focuses. Another one is to do educational outreach. Cannabinoid Science, modern cannabinoid science was founded in Israel. And so to get that message out there, Raphael Mechoulam's work in the cannabis space. So basically, those factors.
Oh, God, you did mention Israel, too. They're on the cutting edge and a lot of tech and cannabis as well, too. So, like, how involved are you guys with Israel?
Quite. Not from a governmental standpoint, but the cannabis industry there, yes. So a lot of our sponsors and our partnerships are with Israeli companies and Israeli educational entities. So ICANN and Canatech are two Israeli educational, what's the best word to describe them? So they put on conferences and they organize and facilitate the exchange of ideas and information in the cannabis science space and also the cannabis innovation and business space. So.
Oh, wow.
And so that's ICANN and that's Canatech.
Oh, cool. And how many chapters are there within the U.S. as well?
I'm still learning just because I'm new, but I'm new to this for Indiana chapter president, but I'm still learning. There is a Chicago chapter. There's so that's Illinois. I believe there's Michigan as well, and there is a really big involved LA chapter or a California chapter. There's Florida, and then I believe also Texas right now.
Oh, wow. And what does it, what are there any requirements to join the organization? What are they?
So there's membership. There's memberships. Anybody can be a member. You do not have to be Jewish. You just have to have an interest in cannabis and basically what our objectives, what our goals are as an organization. So there is 3. Just since I'm still learning everything, there is 3 main objectives for the organization. Like I said, education, unity, tzedakah, tikkun olam. So those are the 3 basic. So under unity, there is, it's open to all. So it's not exclusively Jewish. However, it is founded by Jews and it is run by Jews, and the whole principles, all the principles are set by Jews. So.
Oh, cool. And what was it that got you involved with cannabis as well?
Oh, that's a long story, but thank you. I appreciate you asking. My why is wrapped up in my daughter's journey to healing. So my daughter, when she was 3 years old, started exhibiting some odd neurological symptoms, and it included, it has a lot of things, but it included seizures, it included mental instability, it included hallucinations, and this is a 3-year-old. And it was like one little symptom at a time, and then they would intensify to a point where we definitely, the physician and I definitely had to figure out what was going on. Like, so it was small to begin with. It was little things like, is that normal for a 3-year-old? You know, 3-year-olds act weird. Is that normal for a 3-year-old to suddenly, like, her imagination just seems way too big? Or she really freaked out, like, and trying to get to the bottom of that. We'll come to find out she has, when the seizure started, we knew there was definitely something neurological. So we put all the pieces together and come to find out after all the testing, she has a condition called PANS, which is Pediatric Acute Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. And she was prescribed, we put together, and my doctor, our family physician is also a Jewish lady, and a community member and a really good friend. And so we worked together on figuring out the best method forward with her treatment. And one of the things that she included was CBD. Because the condition is kind of rare, it's not well taught, not even though it's a 30-year-old studied condition. It's not taught in medical schools, so it's just one of those things. We had to navigate the treatment course a little bit unconventionally, and one of the things we included in the treatment was CBD.
Oh, wow.
So started CBD, and better than anything we had tried. I mean, we tried steroid injections, we tried like off-label use for antibiotics, antibiotic injections, like all of these things. And the one thing that worked the best was CBD, like night and day difference. She took her first dose, took a nap, woke up a few hours later and was interacting, just didn't seem heavy, didn't seem burdened by anything, seemed uplifted and made eye contact with me, which she hadn't done in a few weeks. It's amazing. She started coloring right away, and she hadn't colored for months. It was interesting. And then there was no seizures. So, and then slowly, like, there was a process of healing. We saw slowly over time the neuroprotectant effects and the neuroregenerative effects. We started to see it all.
Oh, so she doesn't have any of those symptoms anymore with CBD?
We watch her closely because the nature of PANS is that it's kind of autoimmune. So what happens is the body, a foreign invader comes into the body, and the body says, oh my gosh, we got to mount this immune response that's over-exaggerated. So her immune system does something called a cytokine storm, and the cytokines go, I guess they somehow are able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier. And the theory in PANS is there's a leaky blood-brain barrier, and those cytokine cells go up and attack the brain. And this is a very microscopic type of inflammation and attack on the brain. So it's not caught on some of our usual imaging scans that we do for brains, especially in pediatric patients. So all the scans she had done missed all of it. So what happens is if she were to, take COVID, for instance. We've been home for the past year because of COVID. We don't know how she would respond to getting the virus. If her body would get a cytokine storm and she'd be in a huge flare. So we've been homeschooling. But we're slowly getting back into the world because everyone's getting vaccinated and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so the unpredictable nature of the PANS is that we don't know when she can have a flare. So we watch her closely, and she could always have a flare. Just she could get strep throat one day, or the flu, or a tummy infection, or whatever, and it'll send her and she'll flare up. But we haven't really seen any significant flares, and that's the cool part. Every once in a while, I'll see some behavioral shifts for a few days after, and some fear and anxiety and a little bit of OCD. Those are some of the symptom sets. I'll see that occur a few days after she's been sick with something or picked up something, but then it immediately dissipates. So obviously this hasn't been studied on a scientific level or in a clinical setting, but just given the anecdotal information, she is responding to the CBD. And there's something about the balancing, the endocannabinoid balancing effect of the CBD that tends to keep the system, the immune system, in balance too. And so that's what we think is happening, is it's keeping the immune system at bay, where she's not necessarily having those cytokine storms, at least not to the degree she was.
Oh, wow. And
Sorry, that's a very long explanation.
No, it's great to hear though how much better her livelihood has been since being on CBD. So does she take it every day to
She does.
offset the
She takes it every day, and we recently started doing CBG because she got a skin infection.
Yep.
And so to help with remedying that skin infection, I started looking at more and researching more about CBG, and it seems like a good adjunct to her CBD regimen. So we're doing that at nighttime as well.
Oh, cool. And what got you involved with the IJCA?
The IJCA. Yeah, it's okay. No, it's fine. Well, I am all about that mission. But I have a project that's in the works with a local university to teach about cannabinoid science and the cannabinoid industry in Israel. And in order to facilitate that, I put my feelers out there in my network of cannabis friends and hemp friends, and they said, "Are you involved with IJCA at all?" And I said, "What? What is this awesome entity that exists?" And so I had spoken with the founder for a few weeks, and we felt that it was necessary to start up a chapter here in Indiana. It was something that I felt passionate about, and that's kind of how it happened. So that educational project with the university really spawned it. So. Yep.
So you mentioned you were working with the university too, but it's another mission to get the endocannabinoid system taught in K through 12 as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard enough to get the medical universities, the medical schools to adopt it. It changes the whole curriculum, so to speak, and adds a lot of time to the curriculum, is my understanding. So to even start there and then try to get it into K through 12 is going to be an enormous task. It can be done, but it's going to take a while.
I think they say too, if nobody's going to accept it at the moment for what you're trying to do, go build it yourself.
Yes, exactly. So, and one small step at a time.
Yeah, because so what for your main purposes of educating? So you do hold a lot of events to make sure everybody gets to learn more about the endocannabinoid system.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the events that are held, obviously since COVID hit, there hasn't been a lot of events, but prior to COVID, there were quite a few, and they usually take place within the Jewish community, but they also can take place at obviously universities and things like that. But within the Jewish community, we like to teach about the faith aspects of cannabis and that plant medicine, the God-given plant medicine, how Torah does actually support it, and how even quite a few rabbis actually support it. So that's within the Jewish community, and we do touch on the actual endocannabinoid science and things like that. It gets a little complex, and so we keep that toned down. But when we take it out to a university level or to a medical level where we know there will be practitioners in attendance, we definitely touch on a lot more education, a lot more of the science, a lot more of the medical background of it.
Got it. And if somebody were thinking about attending one of these events, what type of people should they expect to meet?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So yes, if somebody's like interested in attending an event and they want to know, it's like, hey, which type of people are going to be here? Who should they expect to meet? It's like business people, regular.
At the event, yes. Yeah. It depends on the nature of the event, honestly. So if the event is catered to, like we're hoping to have something at the MJ BizCon coming up in October.
Yep.
So that particular event we've had in the past, and it's been quite successful. But it's been that particular event, what, if I understand it correctly, Ben, the founder, saw a need for, in large cannabis spaces, in convention spaces like that, there were not kosher options for food. And so he was like, what if we facilitate that? Because there's a lot of Jews in the cannabis industry. We're naturally drawn to this and to this plant. And for many different reasons, we can touch on those if you want. But so to provide that kosher option, and then to provide the unity and the networking and whatnot, and then we could get into the philanthropy, the talk of the tzedakah and the tikkun olam, and how we want to use that in the cannabis space. So it initially started to have a kosher food option, if I understand it correctly. Oh. And it took off from there. So that's pretty cool. So this event that has taken place in the past was to meet that need of needing kosher food. And then now we're going to meet that need, but we're also we have the organization to facilitate those other goals. So the unity, the networking, the tzedakah tikkun olam, to be a voice. Basically, some of these events are to address anti-Semitism in the cannabis space. So got to touch on that real quick. There is some, because wherever there's Jews, there's also anti-Semitism. Also to address gathering faith leaders together to band behind cannabinoid science, the very real cannabinoid science. So yes, so I know that doesn't exactly answer your question, but my answer overall is it's to different events are catered to different things. So the one at MJ BizCon is to meet the need of kosher foods, and also to network and be a presence and a voice. Other ones are educational events. So based on what the event type is who's going to attend it, you know? So we've had quite a few faith leaders in attendance at events, not just Jewish. We've had quite a few medical practitioners, business industry folks. So there's always a lot of business industry folks, especially, not to say especially, from California. So there's such a huge presence because of the cannabis industry being so developed there.
Oh, got it.
Now we're starting to branch out more because Indiana is not a high THC state, so we're starting to branch out more into hemp and just getting right down to cannabinoids themselves, and not necessarily trying to distinguish between marijuana or cannabis or hemp, but distinguishing cannabinoids, high THC products, low THC products, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Because there's some products for everybody too. Like not everybody wants that high, so they go with CBD. Or if they want, maybe some people want the whole THC.
Case in point, my daughter, right?
Yep.
So she's not a candidate. She does not need, and actually her condition does not respond well to THC at all.
Oh, does it?
So yes, she needs as low as possible. So hemp and isolates are her best choice.
Also, what about how she reacted to full spectrum CBD?
We did have her on. That's an interesting question, and we did have her on at one point, a little bit of a full spectrum, and that's how we know. Yep. We started researching it more, and we started talking with my doctor about it more, and we realized that she needed to be on an isolate. And I started talking to other practitioners around the country, like different canna nurses and things like that, who said, yes, definitely, if it's a neurological condition, stick with the isolates.
Yeah, I mean, that's good how you got your family physician on board on the CBD train too. Like, I think you were touching a little bit about it before, but sometimes some doctors are like, they're like, hey, well, I was taught this in medical school. If it goes against that, I'm not doing it. So it's good. Like,
wow,
like that.
I lucked out. We were really lucky, honestly, having such a good relationship with our family doctor. We were really lucky. But I do have to say that right after we started the CBD for her, the fresh times here in Indiana were raided. And we're slapped with fines from the DEA for selling illegal substances. And there was a whole big snafu going on here. So that's actually how I got into the cannabis industry. I forgot that little piece.
Yep.
Is I needed to know that this was going to be a reliable medicine and that I wasn't a criminal. You know, so in my state, I needed to know that I wasn't going to be criminalized for giving my daughter what she needed. So I started networking, and I met the Midwest Hemp Council, and I got involved with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And going back to like starting the Indiana chapter as well too, what's been the biggest challenge you faced starting up the chapter?
Well, so far, since it's still so early, the challenges right now are just building up excitement, because everyone knows in Indiana that that high THC products are a pipe dream, so to speak. So building up excitement around just cannabinoids and hemp without that wanted, like, why? Okay, so I have people who are asking, well, why should I get involved when we don't even allow marijuana here? And it's like having to explain to them, well, it's a good idea because cannabinoids. I mean, we have hemp. We have all the cannabinoids that we need in hemp. They're just in different concentrations than in marijuana or high THC cannabis. And we can do everything we need to do with those cannabinoids, and we can establish a foundation of science teaching, the endocannabinoid science teachings, just with those cannabinoids. We don't have to have legalization necessarily currently to start these projects. And so convincing folks that I know you're really excited about wanting to have high THC legalized here, but we can still do this now without that, if that makes sense. So that's where I am. Like, hemp companies, hello. I know that there's cannabis in the name of the IJCA, but hemp is cannabis. And we can still help each other even though you're a hemp company. So I think that's the biggest right now, just trying to establish that the legitimacy, even though we don't have high THC products here, that they're not legal, it doesn't mean that all the other cannabinoids aren't important and that we can't teach about the system and get that going.
Yeah. Yeah. What would your chapter look like if you had this issue fixed?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So what do you think your chapter would look like if you had this issue fixed, where it's like, hey, everybody's educated on the cannabinoid system now?
Everyone was super excited about it and educated about the science, and knew everything I knew, all the amazing possibilities of healing and whatnot. I would say we'd be pretty good off. We'd be pretty well off. We'd have the members that we needed to actually drive change here. We could potentially even drive a little bit of changes in the laws here.
Yeah. And in the next 6 to 12 months, where would you like to see that Indiana chapter be?
I definitely want to do get the symposium, so the educational symposium event. I would like to have that done at the university. And I'm not mentioning the university because I have not spoken with them since a few months ago when they gave me the red light to start up the project again, because the project started back before COVID, like a month before COVID hit. And then it was put on hold. And so I just got the red light to start it up again, start planning the planning phase of it again. So, so I'm not mentioning the university, I didn't get permission, but they're a large agricultural university here in Indiana. And that would be that's the main goal for the Indiana chapter. That's our first main goal, is to get that symposium off the ground and executed, and have a good turnout to it. And then the second goal is to obviously the Jewish community. So because education is so huge, the faith side and Jewish side, to break down those stigmas within our own community, and then to reach out to faith leaders and get them involved in the education and the plant medicine side of things. And then I want to drive change here in Indiana. So that's, sorry, my headphones keep popping out.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to drive changes here in Indiana.
Oh, got it. It was like Indiana does have some big universities too. I know you can't say who it is, but like we're definitely anticipating that announcement.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That's good. Like that's definitely a big step for cannabis to have universities start teaching the courses and educating all about the endocannabinoid system.
Well, and since the science was founded in Israel, it just makes sense that that would be a goal of the organization. So
yeah, because I think one thing too, like if you're attending a college and you want to find a way to get into the cannabis space, like your best course of action is probably to study botany, and then after your graduation, you can go work for a grow house or some other type of cannabis company.
Absolutely. And I think really the only program, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know any different, the only program we have in our country really that's catered to anything endocannabinoid related is up in Maryland at their pharmacological school. I think it's the University of Maryland. Their pharmacological school, I believe, has a course in endocannabinoid science and cannabis as medicine. But that's a degree. That's a pharmacy degree, I believe. So if we can, start affecting change in that way, where people are actually teaching on a university level about this, that would be amazing.
Because Indiana's a good spot for hemp, because there's a lot of farmland out there as it is. There's going to be a big producer of cannabis. I mean, I think they already are, but
yes. So we have almost the perfect growing conditions. That's why we're such a big agriculture state. Yeah, we have almost the perfect growing conditions. So an interesting thing about that is Indiana has some tough regulations when it comes to hemp flower. I don't know if you know anything about this, but so Indiana has a ban against craft hemp flower. So that's something on the legislative side that I would like to start affecting changes with as well. Is the ban on craft hemp flower essentially makes it really difficult for our farmers here to turn a profit. So they can process their crops, they can grow their crops and they can process their crops and they can produce oils and isolates, but they cannot cure the flower and sell the flower.
Oh, wow. Oh, so is that like the next step too in your development is to have a say on the legislative piece of cannabis?
Yes. So the Midwest Hemp Council actually is super duper involved, and I'm on their educational committee, the cannabinoid committee. So there is a lot of things going on with that. But there was a lawsuit and an injunction, a temporary injunction granted where they couldn't enforce the ban. But that fell through when our attorney general turned around and countersued or something of that nature. I don't know that actual language for what he did, but basically took it back to court, got the injunction removed, and now it's flat out banned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too, like, because the IJCA, you mentioned and touched a little bit on the consumable parts of cannabis and hemp. What about you? What are your guys' feelings about the industrial use of hemp as well? How you can make like hempcrete, even wood from hemp?
Yes, absolutely. So there is definitely a huge industry potential for that. And I wholeheartedly back the use of hemp plants for fiber and grain and building construction materials. I think it's a smart way to use all of the plants. Oftentimes, just based on what I've heard from friends in the industry, because I'm no expert, I just absorb the knowledge from other people, there's so many pros to using hemp fiber as opposed to using traditional construction materials. So like antimicrobial properties and all the stuff, anti-parasitic properties, and like hempcrete being, you don't have to worry about termites and things of that nature, obviously. But how they're also more sustainable. There's a local farmer who was using, back before the ban on craft hemp flower, he was using recycled hemp plastic tubes for his, for the sale of his single rolls of craft hemp flower. You know, the little tubes they come in. Mm-hmm. He was using recycled hemp fiber tubes. So there's the possibility of using so many different uses for even the fiber side of hemp, and the organization fully supports that. And yeah, whatever we need to do to promote that, we will.
Oh yeah, I was thinking too, like on the military side, they could possibly use it for armor and other materials as well.
Yes.
Their story about Henry Ford with the hemp car, they tried to throw an axe at it and the axe went backwards.
Yes, it's just a fantastic material.
Yes.
And the pros of you can plant this field of hemp and cycle it out and replant it, and you're not affecting the environment in an adverse way, as opposed to using some of the other materials, like say if it was if you were using different cotton fibers and different even just tree-based materials, just the destruction that's involved in processing those materials is way greater than if you were to process hemp, is my understanding of it.
So. Hemp's growth cycle is 3 to 4 months. It takes a while for a tree to grow.
Yes, and it's what is it? A soil remediator, is that the appropriate word? Where it cleans up the soil and actually helps with soil health. So, yeah.
And what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about entering the cannabis space?
If they absolutely know what they want to do, then obviously do that. But if they just want to enter the space and they're not sure how they can contribute, then sit down and question what your skills are. Sit down and think about, what do I have to offer the industry, and then find your fit, if that makes sense. So there's people who have all kinds of skills from other industries that can apply to the cannabis industry, anywhere from website development and design to if you're good with logistics and packaging, and if you're good with, if you're a farmer, obviously that makes sense. But also if you're a people person and you love to network, there's a place for you in the industry.
Oh, yeah. And how could somebody get hold of the IJCA?
They can email me. I would welcome any and all emails if they would like to send me an email. It's Batya, BATYA, at theijca.org. Did you get that? Okay.
So yeah,
so it's just my name, my Hebrew name, and then at theijca.org.
Oh, cool. So yeah, it was great having you on, and we're definitely looking forward to that announcement for when that next university is. If there's new developments within the organization, you're more than happy to be on. And thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. And to all the viewers here, like, comment, and subscribe.